Good morning, friends. Happy Monday. I'm Jamie, the founder of the Holistic Spa Alliance, and Angela Golden and I are going to deliver yet again another casual conversation. And we have a small window of about 10 to 15 minutes today that we want to pack as much information in around steam and extractions for you. So we are going to together, as somebody who used to be an avid steam um, user, I changed my point of view on it. And I have a different point of view over the years of being a holistic esthetician as well. Angela, are you there?
Hi.
There we go.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good
Hi.
morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I am well.
Awesome. So we have about 10 to 15 minutes to deliver packed block of information, and we're going to chat all things steam and extraction today. And I was just saying that my point of view over the years has actually changed a little bit on the two of them. And personally, COVID was the catalyst for the change. But let me start with you. What are you doing in your treatment room, and what are your thoughts around steam and extractions?
Oh, well, I'm actually really excited to hear your COVID story. I'm putting some pieces together in my mind about where this might go. But, I would say I have never been a picker,
Yeah,
which is a blessing because I have so many friends and clients that it really is a compulsion and it's really
yeah.
hard for them. It's really rewiring your mind. But then when I got into aesthetic school, the way that we were taught was you always spend a portion of every facial doing
Mhm.
extractions, and it's part of the protocol. And I did not love to give or receive that part. And later, I have learned that much of the time spent um, was often across the nose,
Mhm.
just squeezing everything out. And those are not even blemishes.
Right.
So, for anyone listening didn't know this, they're called sebaceous filaments, and it's really just when the sebum or oil in your skin hits oxygen and it gets a little darker because of that. So you can squeeze them out every single day and it will never change anything. So, pro tip on that, I do love oil cleansing as
I was
a
just going to ask and say that.
perfect.
So,
Agree.
mhm.
Yes. I feel like that's the only thing that's ever made a difference to anyone in kind of reducing the appearance of those. But it really is just genetics and pore size that's going to be the the people who seem to have a lot and who don't. But so in school I was not a huge fan, but and then in holistics when you go deep green, I think there's a push to not do any extractions, which I think is kind of doing a disservice at times.
Mhm.
So, like everything else in a holistic practice, it needs to be case by case. And, it's, I will do extractions, but only when the skin wants to give it up. I'm never going to wrestle with someone over a blemish. It's not worth the time and it's not worth the pain.
I'm glad you brought that up because I definitely see both sides, right? There are clients that just need it, but you're right. I never want to replace a blemish or a blackhead with inflammation. So that was a nice way of putting it, like the wrestling with it. If it's not ready on the skin to come out, then, we also allow the skin to do its job in time as well. But for the client that does want the extractions, I love a wonderful oil cleanser because it's going to soften that sebum. And I dabble in both sides of dabble. I love to kind of go back and forth within, what I've deemed as the levels of green from light green to dark green. And the dark green would be just the oil cleanser. And then in the medium green or to the light green, I do like to use a little bit of tools. I actually didn't even think I was going to grab one of these, but just to pull it out, like just your traditional, skin scrubber, BT Micro or something. This gives an ultrasonic wave that vibrates and helps loosen anything that might be ready in those areas to kind of pop out on its own. So you're not digging and prodding into the skin. And then my really light green aspect, I love hydrofacial for that because yes, there's a suctioning to it, but it's pushing more so water-based or water onto the skin to soften it and then pull that out versus taking Q-tips or an extractor metal tool to really dig in there. So, but my favorite way is getting people on to the oil cleansing regimen at home, like using it if they don't want to use it all the time, layering it into their home care like once a week to really help soften that sebum so that it naturally can come out with a nice hot washcloth press after, and maybe a little bit of circles on the area to help loosen and again remove that debris.
I'm glad you brought in the ultrasonic spatula because I love that
Yeah.
thing and it's so gentle, it's so
Mhm.
effective, and I really feel like anything that's coming out with that is it's ready to go. It's
Exactly.
not pushing your skin beyond what it wants to do. But I'm so surprised that you love the hydrofacial.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear a little bit more about that from you because I've always thought of hydrofacial as disruptive to the skin barrier, but I also have never used it myself professionally. It's just not one that I've
Yeah.
had.
And again, this is more into the light green aspect. I do love using machines that are non-invasive, that don't break down in order to build up. And you can be really aggressive with hydrofacial. But you can also adjust the amount of suction or the pressure of the liquid that is going onto the skin. It does use water-based products. So when you're deep green, you tend to lean into more of like the oils. And so they use serums a couple of different ones that can help soften the sebum, kind of like an oil would do, but more of like a disincrustation type of solution. There's also one that you can use a light enzyme, so we're not going into like the full peels. But then you can also purchase some hydrofacials that are non-branded where you can use your own line of products. Now, I can't use my oils to suction up in that, but I can use like a powdered cleanser and then go over it with the hydrofacial, but nothing that is oil based so that you can still stay within the realm of being medium to deep green. But yeah, the solution, or if you're just using distilled water, is going to like just compress through this small handheld device or spray out onto the skin. And then within the tip that is being used, there's also areas of suction. And you can control the level of suction and how intense the liquid is kind of coming out onto the skin. But if you think of it as like a water pick for the face, it's pushing that in, and anything that's ready to let go, it kind of helps disrupt and disrupts the wrong word, but helps it let go so that when the suction comes along with it, it pulls any of the excess debris up into it. And of course, this could probably all be said a little more eloquently, but that's just the rough breakdown of what the hydrofacial does. So I do like to use it on more so just the skin that needs it, the person that wants to get rid of the blemishes, the dark blackheads, or you know what we sometimes will call the strawberry nose as well, the little black dots that's all around. It's really good about just helping get rid of that oxidized sebum that's on around the nose, and people just leave looking nice and refreshed and no more little black dots all around. So it's a tool that I use sparingly, and I use it on the more gentle side, but I really enjoy it actually, and my clients do too.
And just like what you said, you use it sparingly, you use it on the gentle
Mhm.
side. that speaks to your holistic nature, where again, it's not just like, oh, book this one and you get this. Really, let's look at your
Yeah.
skin, see where it's at. Let's make sure you have a
Yeah.
healthy barrier and kind of go from there.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I think I do that with all of my machines. And we're not getting into like the conversation of machines today, but I also utilize microcurrent and I also utilize the cryofacial. But again, it's a need by need, case by case, and it's used gently and with somebody progressively as well. But I think just to go back to the core of what we're talking about, which is extractions, and we'll talk about steam here in a second, is that's going to also be done case by case and person by person. What can I do in the treatment room to help soften so we're not abrasively going at those blackheads or areas of congestion? Because I too, Angela, I just never felt comfortable in that to receive it or give it. And then you leave blotchy and red. And yeah, you've kind of disrupted, and you can begin the damaging effects of inflammation versus having that blemish there that the body will kind of take its course, or we can work with it gently to have the body eliminate it,
Yes.
instead of going in and creating that inflammation.
One thing that I will say to clients when they are kind of feeling like that was what they wanted, but after I see their skin, I can see it's not going to be the best choice. And that is what you're saying, which is it's going to do more harm than good. And then healing the hyperpigmentation and the damage that come from pushing that extraction out when it wasn't ready is going to take so much more work, and it's so much of a longer process than just letting that blemish go through its stages and be gone.
Yeah, what is the terminology for that? I don't need to be that, I guess, specific, but the hyperpigmentation that just comes from the inflammation is, I
Oh,
think, such.
yeah, PIH, right?
Yeah, there.
Post-inflammation.
Thank you. Um, and I think that conversation as professionals needs to be had with our guests, with our clients as well, because they think, oh, I'll just take care of this little area myself. But what they can do in the long run with, the damage again around that inflammation is something that they're going to battle even more with. Like you just said, it's a longer process to get rid of versus taking a
Just
more holistic course in treating the blemishes and the blackheads. But coinciding with a lot of extractions usually is the use of steam. What is your take on the steam?
it's a hard no for me on steam. So I personally feel like most of the clients I see have some compromised. I'm just blanking because I'm listening to my toddler in the other room. But
Like skin barrier, microbiome compromise?
no, the blood vessels,
Oh,
usually concentrated in here. And once those burst, the only way to get rid of them is going to be through
yeah,
laser, as far as I know. So
yeah.
depending on your heritage, what's the ancestry, I think that people are more prone to that than others. And it
Hmm.
can be anything from spicy foods, hot yoga, even just like a hot day outside, just to burst those, and then they're there forever. So for me with steam, it's not even worth the risk
Yep.
because they're forever. So
Yep.
I also think that the germ thing, anytime we're dealing with uh,
Yeah.
water, it's always, I mean, even those of us who use humidifiers in our house, I think we all know, like, just keeping those clean is a task. So
Yes.
yeah, do you use steam in your facials?
So this is where I initially started the conversation off with COVID. I was still a steam user. I feel like I liked the comfort of the warmth, especially in the winter. But I was, again, though, very selective with who I used it on. It wasn't used in every facial, but I do like to work with enzymes. And everybody knows that an enzyme is activated with steam. So, you know, there was that aspect of it. But then when COVID came along, we had to stop using it again for the safety aspect and the water droplets. And um, we we found collectively, my clients and I, that we weren't missing it. And there was other ways to activate the enzymes on the few clients that I was using the enzymes on. And I wasn't working as hard after some that needed, quote unquote, the warmth behind the enzyme to help activate that. Obviously brings microcirculation to the face, and you get a nice pinkening all over. But then as an esthetician, your next step is to now bring that and calm that down. Now, there was times for a specific person that I was looking to activate that, but there were times when I wasn't looking to activate that, and that's exactly what the steam did, right? So then I was working extra hard to bring that down. And then after not using it for a period of time, getting the same results and not having to calm the skin as much after just really clicked for me. So I have not gone back to using it, and I don't have one in my treatment
Yeah.
room. And we don't have one here in the spa either now because, you know, even though I'm in this holistic world, right? You know, we all gravitate and choose to use things differently. But sometimes it's okay that over time, like, you gain a different perspective, or you're like, you know what, it's okay if I pivot. And I was okay with using this selectively, but now I've made my own decision, and I've been, you know, visually educated through my clients on how much better the results truly are by not bringing in that heat element. So, because heat, yeah, is again back to the inflammation conversation, just going to elevate that potential. So I've since let it
I,
go.
I love that about you. I think that's why you're such a good educator because you're always willing to learn more and potentially change your perspective. And after as long in the industry as you've been in there, that is very special. I really do love that.
Thanks. And you know, we all typically we have all come from a very traditional European perspective of how we've learned how to give the facial, and then over time we have gone into this holistic realm. At least to my knowledge, there's not a full course out there yet that is just come and be a holistic esthetician. You usually start with a state-run school that teaches you their basics, and then you slowly adapt. And there's things that we hang on to along the way. And then, yeah, we give ourselves permission to say, you know what, I'm going to let that go. Or it's okay if you hang on to it for a little bit, if that's your choice, and you can stand behind how you're using something. But yeah, thank you.
Using
It's a
your
process. It's constantly, you know, we're constantly evolving, learning beings, even in the treatment rooms.
most definitely. I have to go. I could
I
have
just
continued.
looked at the time. I think we got a pretty good amount packed in. I said this was going to be a quick 10. I think we did 15 minutes, so I hope everybody enjoyed a little snippet in there between the two of us for the steam and the extractions. But if anybody else has any questions on this, we'd love to follow up via answering questions down in the comments. But otherwise, Angela, have a great day. Everybody, have a great day. Have a great week ahead. And we'll be back next
I'll
Monday.
see you Monday.
Great. Bye, everyone.